welcome Mr. Jeffrey Stroop, everybody.
Keep it going for David Graves. Good to be here tonight, guys. It's good to be here. I like coming to the falls. I live not too far away. I'm from Welland, but ooh, oh no! Hey, don't hold it against me. Come on. But I like coming to the falls. You know, there's a lot better things to do in the falls. You've got that revolving restaurant in the Skyline Tower. You know, I've never been to a revolving restaurant, but there's something I've always wondered about a revolving restaurant. If you get drunk in a revolving restaurant, does the room stop spinning? Maybe spin backwards, spin faster possibly. And then of course, you got Marineland. Come on, everybody loves Marineland, right? No? Who said no? You said, what's your name?
Shane.
Shane?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't love Marineland? You know what? Tomorrow, we're going down, we're going to sue their fucking asses because they cannot be advertising everybody loves Marineland. Even if one person doesn't love Marineland, they have to change their commercial to something more like this. Everybody but Shane loves Marineland. But last year, I went with my daughter's school. We went to Marineland, and we were down underneath where the whales perform, and you could see the whales in the tanks. And I was reading, there was this little sign on the tank, and this is what it actually says on the tank. It says, any leak you may see in the tank is not a safety concern, as it will seal on its own. I don't know about you, but if I'm standing around looking at these big freaking whales swimming around and I see water start coming out of the tank, I'm not going to stand around and go, you know what? They say these things fix it. Holy crap, there's a whale on my head. And you know, nowadays they just refer to it as Marineland, but when I was growing up, I remember they called it Marineland and Game Farm. You remember this? And they used to have these commercials and they'd sing this song, Marineland and Game Farm. And I used to think they were singing Marineland and Gay Farm. And you know, I'm not too sure what I was thinking they did on a gay farm, but you know, maybe it was something like this. Guy in sequin overalls skipping out to the barn and saying, oh, Troy, you silly cowboy, how many times do I have to tell you you're not supposed to milk the balls? The gay farm, where the motto is, we make our own ranch dressing. Thank you. So you guys, big TV watchers, you enjoy television? I love television, but I have two young daughters, so I spend a lot of time watching the kids' programs. And you know, over the years, you know, I've noticed something. We're always telling our kids to say no to drugs, but we let them watch shows that seem like they were created by people on drugs. You know, like Barney. Come on, this thing was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a giant monster that used to devour everything in its path. Who better to teach our kids about caring and sharing? And then do you remember the show they had, Bananas in Pajamas? What the hell is that thing? I mean, really, what kind of drugs do you have to take to come up with the image of tropical fruit and sleepwear? I mean, really, what's next? Burritos and Speedos? Oh yeah, that's an image you want. And then they come up with that Teletubbies. Remember Teletubbies? I actually sat down and tried to figure out what they were on when they come up with Teletubbies, and I come to the conclusion that Teletubbies is about drinking. It's about getting drunk. I mean, think about it. These Teletubbies were always stumbling around, falling down, and hugging each other. I mean, you see the same damn thing at any bar around 1:30 in the morning. You know, then there was the names. Dipsy, Lala, Tinky Winky, and Poe. And I mean, when you put them all together, it pretty much describes your average night of drinking. You start out, you've had a few, you know, and you're feeling tipsy, but you know, you're slurring your speech and you're like, hey man, I feel tipsy. You know, you're drinking more, now you're running around the bar going, la la. And of course, because you're drinking so much, you spend half the night in the bathroom going tinky winky. And by the end of the night, you've spent all your money, so obviously now you're Paul. But like I said, I do like TV, and my favorite thing on TV is commercials. I love commercials. Although over the years they keep getting more and more perverted, I find. Like, I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago, Mars Bar, or not Mars Bar, that's later on. Ooh, screwed up. Anyways, Cadbury Cream Eggs. You know the Cadbury Easter Cream Eggs? Well, they had this new slogan a couple years ago. It was, release the goo. Release the goo. Sounds like something to me that Mr. Burns might say to Smithers in the freaking gay porno or something. Smithers, release the goo. Excellent. And then, talking about commercials, how about that song I always sing in the Juicy Fruit ads? You know the one I'm talking about. It's been the same friggin' song for, 30, 40 years. Take a sniff. Pull it out. The taste is going to move you when you pop it in your mouth. Come on, this sounds like stage directions for a porno movie. Probably starring some guy named Big Red in a threesome with the Doublemint twins. Now there was another one that used to bother me. Do you remember the slogan Big Red used to have years ago? Longer with Big Red? Longer with Big Red sounds like one of those things you can buy in the back of a porno magazine. You know, add 3 inches in 6 weeks or your money back. Damn thing doesn't work. Hey, sandwich of that. I got one from my dad last year for Christmas. Didn't work. My mom still isn't talking to me. A commercial that bothered me was, I think it's almost 15 years ago that Mars Bar had this new slogan, but I still remember it. It was, get off on Mars. Get off on Mars. Sounds like an awesome idea to me, so I went out and I bought one. Things were going pretty good, until the damn thing started to melt. Broke off inside my girlfriend. Hey, that's okay, I'd break up with her a little while after that. Caught her cheating on me with Mr. Big. Oh, Henry, yes. Yeah, and then the Three Musketeers came over. Baby Ruth. Sweet Marie. There was a whole big freaking chocolate bar orgy at my place. But, so anyways, like I was saying, you know, I was picking on my dad there for a second, but my dad was really cool growing up. Like I said, I have 2 daughters, so I kind of want to be that cooler kind of dad, you know, not be too strict so, you know, the kids don't go too wild. You know, my parents used to let me go to parties, drink. There was one party, though, one time, my friend, we didn't know where he lived. It should have been about a 10-minute drive. He drew a map. We couldn't find the party. We're driving around. My dad said, couldn't figure the map out. So we finally, after about an hour and a half of driving, we find the party. I've got this incredible migraine headache. I just want to go home. I'm like, Dad, let's just turn around. Let's just go home now. Then my dad turned on me. After an hour and a half of driving to find this place, my dad turned on me. He's like, you're going to that party. You're going to get drunk. You're going to have a good time. Now get out. So I went to the party. Needless to say, next morning I'm throwing up, head's pounding, go home, punch my dad in the balls. No, I'm just kidding about that. I didn't punch him in the balls. Not that time. Not that time. But yeah, like I was saying, my dad was cool. He used to drop us off at the GO station, me and friends, and we would go to concerts in Toronto. And one night, again, I ended up having this migraine after a concert. So we missed the last GO train. My dad had to come to Toronto, pick us up. And so we get in the car, and we start driving, and I feel like I'm going to throw up. So I'm like, Dad, pull over. I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get sick. He starts to pull over, and there's a hooker right there. We're like, whoa, Dad, no, not here, not here, not here. I don't know what I was thinking at like 16, 17 years old that I was going to offend a hooker by throwing up in front of her. Or was I thinking she was going to be like, hey, I don't know what kind of kinky stuff you're into, pal, but count me out. You know what? Ethel 3 blocks over, $50, anything goes. Now, I've never actually met a hooker, but I'm pretty sure that Ethel is generally a hooker's name. I'm pretty sure. I don't know for sure, but yeah, like I said, I have 2 daughters, and my youngest, she's 8. She has a tendency of plugging her toilet a lot. She puts the toilet paper on. She doesn't want to get any shit on her hands, right? So obviously, nobody wants to, but she puts so much on. By the time she's done, she's got this friggin' baseball glove on her hand of toilet paper. So I got to thinking, why doesn't the toilet paper company invent some sort of glove type out of toilet paper? I even have the name for them. The Shitman. By Cottonelle. But like I said, I live in Welland now, but I grew up in the country. Any other people grew up in the country, from the country, passed by the country, heard of the country? Well, I grew up in the country, and you know what? Growing up in the country, and then being in the city now, you realize city guys, city kids, you have it made as far as summer employment. You can work at Tim Hortons, McDonald's, not the same sort of options in the country. I had 2 jobs growing up in the country, and they were very similar. I caught chickens, and I caught turkeys. And often people say, well, which was harder? Which did you prefer, catching chickens, catching turkeys? By far, catching turkeys was easy. They're a little bit heavier, but they're easy. You get a turkey, you get them by the legs, you pick them up, they go limp. Game over. They look up at you like, you know what? I tried. You're the better man. See you at dinner. But chickens, on the other hand, chickens are fucking bastards. They will peck you. They will grab you. They'll shit in your eye if they get the chance. Little secret, chickens don't want to get caught. They don't want to be dinner. But I swear, and when you do finally drag them, squawking and clawing and biting all the way to the truck, you give them to the truck driver puts them on the truck driver drives away. You think it's over? Yeah, finally. It's not over. Not for the chicken, anyways. The chicken's got his head sticking out of the cage. He's looking at me. He's like, hey, I say, when I get out of this place, you're dead. Your family, dead. David Green, dead. David Green's goldfish Skippy, dead. I swear this one time, though, I saw this chicken. He's sharpening his claws on the side of the cage. He's looking at me. He's like, hey, I gonna cut you. I gonna cut you bad. Another time, I saw this commotion. There's another chicken coming from the back. He's got one of those masks on, like those lucha libre Mexican wrestlers. He's looking at me. He's like, hey, it's me, El Pollo Loco. You gonna choke on my chicken nuggets, yes, Thank you. But yeah, like I said, I have 2 daughters, and they're both in elementary school right now. And my oldest daughter, you know, when we were kids, we had the good old fire drills, right? Everybody had fire drills. Nowadays, they still have the fire drill, but they also have something, because of all these crazy people and crazy things going on in schools, they have something called lockdown. Yes, lockdowns in school. And my oldest daughter said to me that this voice comes on and lets them know that there's going to be a lockdown. And she said it freaks her and her friends out. Now, I've never heard this voice, so I got to wonder, what's this voice like if it's freaking kids out? So I thought, it can't possibly be this kind of voice, this really happy sort of sounding like, oh my God, everybody, we're having a lockdown, nobody panic, it's all going to be okay. No, that can't be the voice. So I thought maybe it's this real cold, emotionless kind of sounding voice, like, "Attention staff and students, the school is on lockdown." That's probably the voice. But I thought maybe there's one other option. And if I heard this voice, it would freak me out, I tell you.